Here's a structured signal from WellView 365, powered by freshnews.ai. Operators are reframing waiting rooms as levers for healthcare staff operational efficiency, cutting friction while keeping patient messaging compliant. Executive summary. Operations teams are shifting waiting room screens from passive decor to an active workflow tool that standardizes staff explanations and reduces repeat questions. Budget reviews are forcing clearer links between most FTE and measurable throughput, so leaders are asking what can be moved from verbal scripts to visual standards. This creates a concrete path to onboard staff faster with clear visual communication by baking core check-in, prep, and expectation setting into predictable, looping content. The risk is that if screens remain unmanaged or ad hoc, staff time stays tied up in basic explanations, and new hires keep learning different versions of the same process. Today's signal. Front desk leads and nurse managers are comparing notes on how much time staff spend repeating intake instructions in busy waiting rooms. They are pushing standard explanations, prep steps, and wayfinding onto waiting room screens, so staff can point once instead of reteaching each patient. With annual budgets under review, they need these healthcare digital communication patient experience changes to show up as cleaner handoffs and less onboarding time for new staff. Why it matters. Here are 4 takeaways. First, reduces front desk and clinical staff time spent on repeat explanations during peak hours. Second, gives new hires a consistent reference so they learn the same intake and prep steps as existing staff. Third, cuts variation in how information is delivered across shifts and locations. Fourth, provides a visible, measurable asset that supports headcount and tool justification during budget reviews. How it works in practice. The pressure point shows up at check-in when patients arrive with the same questions about forms, copays, prep, and wait order, while staff juggle phones and room turnover. Staff currently answer verbally, sometimes with printouts taped to the desk, and each person adds their own wording. This creates variation, slows the line, and makes onboarding harder because new hires copy whatever the nearest colleague happens to say. When waiting room screens carry a standard loop with intake steps, prep reminders, and simple timelines, staff can refer to the screen, align their phrasing, and use the same visual script across shifts, which supports faster onboarding and more predictable flow. One practical adjustment. This week, pick the 3 most repeated intake or prep explanations in your busiest waiting area and convert them into a simple looping screen sequence. What to do next? Here are 4 takeaways. First, audit one waiting room for the top repeat questions staff answer during a typical day. Second, draft short plain language messages and simple visuals that match your current intake workflow. Third, review the draft content with clinical leads and compliance before publishing. Fourth, train front desk and clinical staff to point to the screens as the default reference, and note any reduction in repeat explanations. Read more at wellview365.com.